on camera for the first time to this programme, alleging they're being held against their will by their own father in the royal compound in Jeddah. The astonishing interview comes as the US President Barack Obama has been meeting the king 500 miles away in Radat Karaim. Fatima Manji has this exclusive report.
Princess Sahar on the right with her sister Princess Jawahir, speaking out for the first time on camera within the royal compound in Saudi Arabia. They are daughters of King Abdullah. They claim they and their other sisters Maha and Hala have been kept as virtual prisoners.
Why are we, grown women, held against our will? And I believe that we are hostages, actually.
This compound, which they filmed for us, is now their entire existence.
This is the gate.
Their only window onto the world is access to the internet, which they fear will be shut down after this interview.
Locks from the outside. This is a risk we're taking, actually, and we're happy to do it, and we know, we understand full well the repercussions, absolutely, but we don't know what's going to happen. It's horrendous. You're cut off, you're isolated, you feel alone, you feel, it's psychologically tormenting.
Who is responsible for holding you under this effective house arrest?
For sure. Our father, the king, is responsible.
President Obama landed in Riyadh earlier today ahead of his meeting with their father, the king. They met at Radat Karaim to discuss Syria and regional security, and then had a private dinner. 500 miles away, the king's daughters say the meeting is shameful.
Well, actually, any leader, I think, meeting with the king or any Saudi official is responsible for what is happening in Saudi Arabia. To meet such a leader that has 4 women, grown women, locked up just because he wants to. Especially that they speak of human rights.
The princesses say they decided to go public after their father said they would never be allowed to leave.
He basically threatened us. He told us that our situation will never change, and when he dies, our brothers can continue detaining us and continue the abuse.
The king is thought to have had around 30 wives and at least 40 children.
Why is it that the king, your father, would single you out of all of his children?
We've been asking him that question for over 12 years, and we do not get any answer. All we get is, let your mom come back, let your mom come back.
Their mother, Al-Anud Al-Fayyaz, is divorced from the king and now lives in London. She went public 2 weeks ago for the first time, and since then the princesses say their situation has deteriorated.
Denied every single right, and now the right to eat and drink. We're being starved now, yes.
We asked the Saudi embassy in London to respond to this claim. As yet, we haven't heard from them. Earlier in the week, they told us this is a private matter. But the princesses are very clear. Women throughout the kingdom are suffering, and they say it's a system of male guardianship which allows men to dictate a woman's every movement.
We are just an example of so many families, so many women go through. We're just a tiny, tiny example. If he does that to his own children, how do you think the rest of the country is? Gender apartheid, that's what it is.
The princesses say the only company they have is each other. No one is allowed to visit.
We all have dreams. We want to continue studying, we want to work, we want to live our lives normally, have the chance to marry, have children. God knows, I mean, life is full of things that one would like to do.
How is it you're managing to smile, to laugh, and to talk to me normally?
I think faith. I have deep faith in God, and I know that tomorrow is a better day, and I see the misery of others. We see how others are living, and we're grateful for everything. fighting for it, and we'll never stop fighting for our rights. And we'll keep fighting them with our smile, we'll keep fighting them with our tears, we'll keep fighting them with our spirits, with our hearts, and we will never stop, even if they're starving us. Never.
Well, before we came on air, I spoke to the mother of the princesses, who is in exile in London and does not want us to show her face. I asked her how it felt, as a mother, to watch her daughters talking to us on Skype when she's unable to be with them in person.
It was very painful for me to see them talking and trying to be as brave and as proud as ever, because it's not easy. They're putting a face that it's okay. They're without food. I mean, they have little provisions left. So yes, it was painful.
And do you believe that if you did go back, they would be less happy?
No, I will be locked up with them, and nobody would know if we'll die together.
Do you feel there is a risk of any consequences now that they have done this?
Well, they are now, if the world accepting that they are will be shortly running of food. They were killing them slowly. Now they will die maybe quicker.
You believe there is a risk that they will be punished?
Yes, yes. They already did. Now they can't go out. They didn't even offer to give them food.
Do you not feel any temptation yourself to go back, to do what is being demanded of you in order to stop that?
No, because I know that we will disappear, we will vanish, both of us. If I tell the reason that I left, why I left there, the world will be shocked. I'm still leaving that little tiny hair between me and them. I'm still keeping the most important thing of all this tragedy. If I tell the world why in the first place, why I left.
You're remaining that, you have that as your last remaining card?
Yes, yes.
How do you feel about the American president today?
I feel bad because he was speaking about how should fathers treat their daughters, and he has two lovely daughters. If one of them or both of them are put in this situation, what he would do.
Thank you very much. Well, I'm joined now in the studio by Rothnah Begum, who is a women's rights researcher for Human Rights Watch, and in Boston, Ambassador Ford Fraker, President of the Middle East Policy Council and a former US ambassador to Saudi Arabia. Ambassador, can I begin with you? What would you say to that mother, the former wife of the Saudi king, and those daughters who are effectively in prison in a Saudi compound? They say Barack Obama should be ashamed.
Well, these are clearly very delicate, difficult, personal family matters, and I don't feel qualified to comment on them. You know, there are difficult issues, family issues, everywhere in the world, not just Saudi Arabia.
This isn't a family issue.
So
this is people being locked up.
Well, so it's alleged, but you know, this isn't something that I have any personal knowledge of or involvement in, so it's difficult for me to comment.
Would it have been appropriate for Barack Obama to raise it in his meeting?
I wouldn't have thought so. The purpose of the meeting isn't to, you know, to discuss private, personal matters. The purpose of the meeting was to talk about the U.S.-Saudi relationship and the many really important regional issues that both countries face, and in particular a time for the U.S., I think, to try and reset the relationship on a more positive note.
Okay, let me just bring in Rothnah Begum. I mean, do you think it is realistic that it would have been brought up and that it should have been?
I think it should have been brought up. Whether or not it's realistic is a matter of priorities for the United States government. Frankly, human rights abuses are not actually talked about as much as they should be by Western governments such as the United States. And women's rights, for instance, are incredibly women's rights are terrible in Saudi Arabia. They are, women in Saudi Arabia face severe discrimination across all aspects of their lives.
Ambassador, was the question of women's rights something you felt was your role to raise at all when you were the US representative in Saudi Arabia?
Yes, the whole subject of human rights was a topic that was raised repeatedly, privately, behind closed doors, not publicly, but certainly was an agenda item. Every year, every embassy, U.S. embassy around the world has to write reports on human rights issues, religious freedom issues, women issues. So these are ongoing conversations that have. Just because they're not public, don't mean they don't happen.
But you would make it clear, would you, that America disapproves of the way Saudi Arabia treats women?
Well, we addressed a whole range of issues where we thought improvements could be made. Women's rights were one of them, and is constantly on the agenda, as are other ones. But this is part of the whole relationship, and I think it's fair to say that this particular king has made significant strides in moving forward on a number of issues, particularly involving women. For the first time, you have women ministers in government. You have women entering the workforce. I think 70% of all the places in Saudi universities are taken by women. You have many businesses in Saudi Arabia owned by women. I'm told 70% of all the savings accounts in the banks are controlled by women.
Rosman Begum, I mean, that's true, isn't it? I mean, there is progress for some women in Saudi Arabia.
Well, I'd like to start off with saying that women face severe discrimination in law and in practice. It continues that women are unable to undertake higher education, that they are unable to marry, that they cannot travel abroad, they cannot even undergo certain medical procedures without the permission of their male guardians. And there continues to be sex segregation as well as a ban on driving. So where women are making achievements, such as a number of them are graduating from university, they are still making up the majority of those who are unemployed because of the severe discrimination that they're under.
And so what would you like to see Western governments do? Given the relationship is based on power, money and oil.
Well, the United States government should be doing far more than they have been doing. Everything has been done behind closed doors. So we actually cannot account for what is actually being said behind those closed doors. In the same irony, women are also relegated to being behind closed doors. They are relegated to a private sphere where their rights are undermined on a daily basis. When we talk about the male guardianship system, which is their father, their brother, their husband, or even their son, they take the decisions on as part of their lives. All of their affairs are conducted by their male guardians.
Rosman Begum and Ambassador Frager, thank you very much indeed.
Thanks, Krish. Well, President Obama was not, however, focused on challenging the Saudis on women's rights, but rather trying to reassure them that the US is